Welcome to Ancestral Wisdom, where the wisdom of the past guides our future. Today, we're going to be talking about Elhaz. That's about the extent of the notes that I usually use to make these videos. Just a couple of things to make sure, jot it down to make sure I don't forget the various ideas that I have come to associate with each ruin. So just a few things jotted down for each one. Um, and then I try to expand on them based on that. So the ruin, as you can see, is one straight axis, and a bit upwards from the center, you have two branches coming out. Now, the image that I want you to have in your mind when you see this ruin, the Elhaz ruin, is an elk, and you can hear the similarity between the name of the ruin and the word elk. And I want you to see the branches, the the antlers, the rack of the elk branching upwards. And you can also see trees branching upward, a tree branching upward, anything that's striving ever upward. In the mating season, of course, I don't have a lot of elk where I live, but we have deer. And in the mating season, where they feel the urge to procreate and to generate and to create, they get their rack, their antlers, and it's a sign of virility and increase. And that's what this ruin, the primal force of this ruin, the primal force of increase, of striving upwards. In that way, it's similar to, in terms of its pictographic symbolism and archetypal impulse, to the Christian cross. Because the Christian cross has, where did my pen go? The Christian cross is very similar in shape to this ruin, whereas both of them have a cross, have an upward axis, and both of them have a pattern which occurs a little upwards of that axis. And so both of them have a way of drawing the eye upwards, which is why Christianity is very often associated with a negation of this world in order to strive upwards and favor the divinity of heaven, let's say, instead of the divinity of the world. That's the way that Christians often take it. But the symbol itself is pre-Christian. The cross is a pre-Christian symbol. And the cross itself has a similar effect to Elhaz, of drawing the eye upward and making us think and ponder about the connection between us and the things that are above. Elhaz is a bit more powerful though, because the arms tilt, and so that upward driving force of the image of the ruin is even more pronounced. So it's the elk, it's the tree, it's the flight, and there are some sources which seem to indicate a connection between the name and the swan and the Valkyrie, and this idea of flight. So all of those things you can think of when you first think of this ruin. It's an upward impulse towards divinity. It's us striving towards the model of the Aesir, us striving to be better than what we are. It's an impulse towards evolution. It's the upward driving force of humanity, which allowed us to conceptualize things that are amazing. Now, if you look at the video that I made contrasting barbarity and civilization, there is a bit of an issue there because this upward driving force seems to aid in the creation of civilization, and there are aspects of civilization which lead to a degeneration. And that's something that I've been wrestling with myself for quite some time. Is there any way to reconcile the upward driving force of this ruin without it also being the initiating factor of a cycle which will lead to degeneration and destruction as well? In other words, is there any way for civilizations to exist without the auto domestication of people and therefore the eventual decline of that civilization? I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that question. Either way, the impulse of Elhaz is deeply connected to that. It's the reason why Newton pondered and Shakespeare wrote, heard it said, the reason why we got a man to the moon, and the reason why we're able to penetrate deep into our own conscious minds to heal ourselves, the reason why we do great things, why we do things that allow our names to live on after we're gone. In its most mundane sense, the reason why we protect our lives and procreate, which is possibly why this is also seen as a powerful ruin of protection and victory. And while there is a instinctual impulse inherent in the concept of this ruin, I believe this ruin is also a very conscious ruin. It's a ruin of our knowledge of something above and us driving ever towards it because of our knowledge of it. There are a few mysteries here that as I indicated before, that I can't unlock. And I wonder if anyone can lend a verse, help unlock them. How can you use Elhaz to improve your life? If you are descending into chaos, if there's anything that is in your life that answers the call of life with a big no, then you can meditate upon the importance of Elhaz. Because Elhaz is the eternal yes, it's the eternal more, it's the eternal better, and it's the conscious will towards that better and that divine. It is hope, and it is motivation, and it's the bright future that can be ours if we ride the Rainbow Bridge to Asgard. Eurus Thurizar, Ansus Raido Kenas, ye bawonjo agala, now this isa yera, you as perthro elgas, so iloki was, pergano ewo manas, lagus invas degas, o fala.